All right, so in this next video, it's going to be part 2 on the hook set that I like. I'm going to show you using this scale and the technique that I use for really bending that rod into that fish. I've been able to get consistent 6 to 7+ pounds of pressure every time I go to set that hook. And I got to tell you, that plus the hooks that we talked about on an earlier episode, I think has been the single reason why when I stick a fish, he stays stuck. So take a look at that video. You might pick up some things that can help you, because I got to tell you, practicing with this scale and that technique and those hooks have allowed me to catch a lot of tarpon. So hopefully it's going to work out for you as well. So take a look at this next video. All right. So now I've moved out to 60 feet. One thing you can't see is I told you I like to practice at 60 feet, 70 feet, and 80 feet. I've actually measured from the scale to 60 feet with a red line, then to 70 feet with a red line, and then to 80 feet with a red line. Like I said, I hope I don't have to throw too many times at 80 feet, but occasionally you do. So you need to understand where that pressure is to get you to the level that works best for you, which we're going to attempt to get you up to that minimum of 4, between 4 and 6, and you're going to hook a lot more fish. I told you I like the hook set, and I've done it long enough where I can get mine up between 7 to 7.5 on a consistent basis, whether I'm at 60 feet or 80 feet. So here's what we're going to do. One thing that we talked about, I've got it connected. We're going to simulate that it comes tight. Strip, he's eating it. One more strip. I don't want to see you just do this. This happens a lot with a lot of anglers, just these little bangs in it right here. Bang, 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 bang. Just using the tip of your rod. That's not going to work. That's going to get you at 2 pounds, maybe 3 at the most. And chances are a lot of fish are going to fall off at that poundage. We're going to try to get you up a little bit higher. So I'm right-handed. I always going to pull off to my right side. And I also told you that I like to make sure I use the butt of the rod, the strength of the rod, all the way to the tip. So when I pull, I'm going to have a really good elongated bend in my rod, not a short, just tip bend, a nice elongated bend, which is going to allow me to pull hard. So I'm going to strip, it comes tight. I then, because I'm right-handed, I put it on my left side, the reel butt right into my hip, and then I lean into it over here. You notice I'm really leaning hard into that rod. Something else, the loose line out here away from that rod and that reel, because I don't want that to jump in and hang up on anything. So again, we're going to strip, it comes tight. I lean into it and I hold it. Now I got to tell you, a moment ago, I did that in practice and I walked back up and I'm at right about 7.5 pounds. It's not where I want you to be right now. That works for me. And I told you I practiced it so often that I know where that pull is in relation to my equipment and the line and that distance. It just works for me, but it's going to take practice for you. You're going to go back and forth with this scale a lot. After you pull, I would suggest pull the way you think it's there, go back and take a look at it and see where that little mark is registering on that scale. You can go back and forth a lot of times, or you can get somebody to help you, which will stand there and you can just ask them, where did I pull? Okay, I'm at there, reset it, pull again. After you do it over and over and over again, it's going to become second nature. You're going to know that bend in your rod and you're going to know where you're pulling, but it takes some time to get there. So if you can get somebody to help you, that's great. Otherwise, you're going to be walking back and forth a lot. So again, we're going to strip. It comes tight. I'm going to lean into it and I'm going to hold it hard. Now, one thing I want to be very clear on, I want you to hold it hard. That's how I do it. That works well with me. But understand, you've got to be sensitive to what the fish is doing when that happens. A lot of times when I've set this hook on fish, they just sit there and you can actually feel these monster heads just going back and forth like this in the water. I am just holding him and I am setting that hook deep into that fish's mouth. That works really well for me. But then there are other times that as soon as you go to hook it, the fish goes bananas. At that time, you have to lessen that hook set back a little bit, start allowing him to take this line if he wants to go to get it to the reel. You don't want to just sit there and hold really hard at a fish that is just going nuts on the surface of the water. He's liable to snap you off. We don't want to lose any fish by over pulling. So every situation's a little different. You're going to have to read what the fish is doing and either increase your pull because it's working good or decrease your pull because the fish is going wild. Now, I got to tell you, there's been some cases when I've set up really hard on a fish, they will just come out of the water and just start greyhounding right to the bow of the boat. At that point, you're kind of messed over. That's going to be a really difficult hook set because he's coming right at you. But too many times, including myself in the beginning, I was worried when he was coming at me to get this line on this reel. So I took my eyes off the fish. I'm just trying to do this. Slack's going in the line, fish falls right off. Here's what I would rather you do. You go to get a hook set, and now all of a sudden he's coming at you. Keep a good bend in your rod. Don't worry about trying to wind the reel. Strip to the fish. Strip, strip, keeping that bend in that rod. You're just stripping that line towards that fish in hopes that sooner or later he'll stop and want to go the other way. But remember, they do what they do. You never know what they're going to do. So if he's running at you and you're stripping like crazy with a good bend in the rod, he's liable to hit that water and turn and go the opposite direction. There's so much to paying attention to what that fish is doing to make you successful in the hook set to catching that fish. These are just things that you're going to have to practice with. Hooking a lot of fish, going through all these different scenarios. But trust me, when you get a really good idea of what's going on and you can feel what's going on, read the conditions, you're going to hook and catch more fish. So one more time, we're going to strip, strip. It comes tight. I got a good hook set in them. Now all of a sudden the fish wants to take the line. We're going to back up simulating that. Notice that my left hand, I never change the bend in the rod, but my left hand, I hold it out here. I make him take it. You notice how that line was just jumping all over the place? And I walk it right to the reel, and now I'm ready to fight the fish. This is what's happened to me before in the past until I learned how to do this. I get the good hook set in the fish, and I wasn't keeping my line far enough away from my reel, and as it was jumping, it would wrap the reel. Well, I learned then, we got to keep that left hand, for me, further away from the reel. So we come tight, I'm holding him, I'm keeping that line way, way off, way off. Butt section is very into my waist right here, because if you leave it an area like this, it's liable to wrap. So because it's tight to my waist, it can't get between the butt of the rod and my waist. So everything's out here. I walk it, get it back on the reel, and now I'm ready to fight the fish. So this exercise, I got to tell you, this has been one of my secrets to getting to where I can constantly pull between 6, 7, 7.5, sometimes even 8, depending upon the fish and where I'm at. This is nothing but practice. You've got to practice over and over and over again. You really could use somebody to help you to read that scale while you're doing it. They can reset it, then you can get that pull. One more quick thing. I think I touched on it inside. On my right side, I can pull 7.5, close to 8. On my left side, it's the craziest thing. When it comes tight, I just don't have the leverage on my left side to pull at that. I'm lucky if I can get it to 4. And even then, fish fall off. I don't like that. It just doesn't work. So because I'm right-handed, that's my strong pull side. Whenever I'm in a boat with a guide and I see a fish coming, I want to hook him off to my right. I ask the guide to please adjust the boat accordingly so that I can make that cast off the right and try to hook it always on your strong side. The guide won't care. If you feel more comfortable on that side, you do it. If you're left-handed, you want to feel it on that side. You want him to adjust the boat accordingly. Work with your guide, but for you, practice this. I can't tell you. I know where I'm at 60 feet, 70 feet, and 80 feet. I can pull up to 7 pounds no matter where I'm at there without that scale now, because I just know where it's going to be. You need to learn that. And the only way I was able to learn it was practicing and practicing and practicing. I cannot emphasize enough how much this has helped me in my hook setting, and I think it's going to help you in your hook setting. So get a scale, work on it over and over at 50 feet if you want, 60 feet, 70 feet. Don't worry about 80 feet. You've got to understand where you're fishing, what's really the distance that you use more often. Make it proficient at that distance. Make this your own. You've got to use your tackle, your fly lines. You've got to understand where the bend is with the tackle you use, and that's how you're going to get good. So practice it like crazy. I think this could help you hook a lot more fish, and they're probably going to stay on as well. So give it a try.